Shoot, just when you think it's really time for Derek Chisora to retire, he breaks off a 2-fight win streak. We've got Derek Chisora, 35 wins and 13 losses versus Otto Wallin, 27 wins and 2 losses. Again, Derek Chisora, I mean, he's fought the who's who just throughout the years. Look at this guy's schedule. And usually when he fights like the A minus, even B plus fighters, he loses as much as he wins. He probably loses more of those than he wins, but he's always been game. Way back in the day, he gave Vitaly Klitschko a good fight. The guy has fought and lost to Tyson Fury 3 times. He's fought Dillian White in 2 bangers. And towards the end of Tyson Fury's prime, I would say, he fought Chisora a 3rd time and he beat him up so badly. It was a 10th round TKO. They could have probably stopped it a couple rounds sooner. And Derek Chisora at that point seemed like he might be done. Like, okay, you got that last payday against Tyson Fury, but he then fights Gerald Washington, beats him via decision, and then he beats Joe Joyce. Like, could you have imagined this like 2-3 years ago? Derek Chisora beating Joe Joyce via decision? Well, that's what happened. He beat him and he dropped him in that fight. And now he's going to be fighting Otto Wallin, who I kind of feel had kind of I looked at it as like a fool's gold like reputation when he overperformed against Tyson Fury a few years ago. People thought that Otto Wallin might be a real player at heavyweight, to the point where a few fights later, Otto Wallin, a lot of people thought that he might beat Anthony Joshua. I never thought that that was going to be the case. I thought it was much more likely that Joseph Parker pulls off that upset against Deontay Wilder than it was that Otto Wallin pulls off an upset against Anthony Joshua. But a lot of people thought that it was like going to happen. They thought that they were seeing the vulnerabilities in Anthony Joshua. They thought that Otto Wallin was pretty damn good. But I was always thinking about, like, what is Otto Wallin really better than Anthony Joshua at? Yes, he's a southpaw, but aside from Usyk, Joshua does pretty well against southpaws, and he did fairly well against Usyk. Let's keep it real. But then from like a power standpoint, like, Otto Wallin can't afford to mess up against Joshua. And Otto Wallin, yes, he does have 15 knockouts out of his 27 wins, but in most of his high profile fights, do you see Otto Wallin as being like a scary puncher? I usually see him working behind a jab, throwing some left hands, showing some movement, and trying to outbox the guy from distance. That's really how Otto Wallin operates. So I think that we really need to reassess who Otto Wallin is. Like, I don't think he's an elite guy. Is he a near elite guy? Maybe, but I mean, if he beats Derek Chisora, isn't that Otto Wallin's best win if he beats Chisora? If not Chisora, then who would Otto Wallin's best win be? Would it be Murat Gassiev? I mean, that's probably a top 2 win. And Murat Gassiev wasn't proven a heavyweight. He won a few fights against low-level heavyweights. He was a really good cruiserweight. And I actually won money on that fight betting on Otto Wallin, because I was thinking, like, what has Gassiev really proven to us at heavyweight? I know what Otto Wallin can do, at least on a basic level, and I know that he seems pretty resilient. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Wallin. And at the time, Wallin was actually, I believe, a slight underdog in that fight. So yeah, I want some money on that one. But aside from Gassiev, and if he does beat Chisora, would it be Rydell Booker, Dominic Brazil? Maybe Dominic Brazil. So all in all, Otto Wallin hasn't shown us that he could beat like a top or near top tier fighter. Is Derek Chisora that? No, but again, it still might be Otto Wallin's best win. His 2 losses are against Tyson Fury and then a 5th round stoppage against Anthony Joshua. And he's only had 1 fight since that 5th round stoppage to Joshua against a heavyweight that you've probably never heard of before, and he stopped him in the 1st round of an 8-rounder. So when I look at Derek Chisora versus Otto Wallin, I see that Otto Wallin is like a 2-to-1 favorite. He's a -200 to Derek Chisora's +187. And I'm thinking, like, let's think about who beats Derek Chisora. We know that hard punches, if you got like some knockout power, you could beat Chisora, right? If you could just get him out of there. Dillian White. David Haye is another guy with immense power and was able to stop Chisora in the 5th round. And if you are a very good boxer, you might be able to beat him as well. Alexander Usyk, although Usyk, who fought Chisora in 2020, that was Usyk's 2nd heavyweight fight, Chisora gave Usyk one of his best heavyweight fights. Like, he put the pressure on him. He won a few rounds in the first half of the fight. Like, you've really got to deter this guy. I mean, in Derek Chisora's first of 2 fights against Joseph Parker, he ran across the ring basically and knocked Parker down like in the first 10 seconds of the fight. Chisora has also knocked Carlos Takam out in the 8th round. So Chisora's got some pop. He's ultra aggressive. The problem is in the last few years, he's been running out of gas like in the middle round. So it's kind of painful to watch some Chisora fights in the second half, but Otto Wallin isn't a great second half fighter either. So does Otto Wallin have enough to keep the hard charging bull in a china shop that is Derek Chisora off of him and outbox him from distance? Or is Otto Wallin forced into a Derek Chisora looking fight? Like, let's think of the most recent Derek Chisora looking fights. Almost every Derek Chisora fight is a Derek Chisora looking fight, unless it's like against Tyson Fury, somebody who's able to just command the range and keep him outside, basically. Although in the second Fury versus Chisora fight, Fury came on the inside and started to beat him up and stopped him from up close, roughed him up. But Joe Joyce was lured into a Derek Chisora style fight. Not that Joe Joyce usually, I mean, he's always like giving as well as he's taking, right? But like a few fights ago, Kubrat Pulev was lured into a Derek Chisora looking fight, and Derek Chisora beat Kubrat Pulev right before that Fury versus Chisora trilogy fight. And right before Chisora versus Pulev, those were the two Chisora versus Joseph Parker fights, where the first one was a razor close, controversial. A lot of people thought that Chisora deserved a win over Joseph Parker in their first fight. It ended up being a split decision win for Joseph Parker, but Parker boxed way better in their second fight, and he won via unanimous decision in the rematch. He hurt Chisora a few times in that second fight, but again, that first fight, yeah, Parker was also lured into a Derek Chisora looking fight. So can Otto Wallin box Chisora as well as Parker did in the rematch? Because if not, Derek Chisora is going to be all over Otto Wallin. Like, does Otto Wallin have enough pop to deter Derek Chisora? And if not, does he have enough skill and boxing ability, endurance, movement, all of that sweet science stuff to keep Derek Chisora from making this look like a Derek Chisora fight? I think it's going to be muddy, man. I think this is going to be a really close fight. I don't think Otto Wallin should be going off at a minus 200. I think this is going to be a split decision either way. And I'm going to go with Otto Wallin pulling off a very close split decision style win over Derek Chisora. But I think Derek Chisora is going to make this a very muddy fight. I think Otto Wallin is going to be spending some time against the ropes. However, the reason I'm going to pick Otto Wallin is because in a lot of these recent Derek Chisora fights, Derek Chisora used to have great legs, and he used to be able to go and go and go and keep on coming. Around the time of that Usyk fight, you started seeing Derek Chisora in the second half of fights especially start spending way more time backed up against the ropes. Yes, he does do some good work, and he still throws those haymaker bombs off of the ropes. But we've seen more and more fights recently where Derek Chisora just looks exhausted and he's just up against the ropes, and you could tell that his legs aren't moving well, so he's just kind of resting, wanting you to come in so you could get close enough for him to bomb you. I think that Otto Wallin should be good enough, should be better than Kubrat Pulev, an old Kubrat Pulev, in those moments to where he's noticeably, demonstratively outboxing Derek Chisora for those long periods of time. But I think, again, Derek Chisora is going to have enough moments in enough rounds to keep this close enough to end up being like a 115, 113 split decision type of win. But yeah, I'm going to go with Otto Wallin to edge it against Derek Chisora. But again, I think that the odds are a little bit lopsided. Derek Chisora has been overachieving in recent fights, to be frank. Like Joe Joyce, I mean, he really might be a shot fighter. So maybe I'm making too much of a Derek Chisora win over Joe Joyce. But I mean, Derek Chisora is 41 years old. A few years ago, again, he fought an even fight where some thought that he beat Joseph Parker. So I don't know how much is left in the tank for Derek Chisora, but I know that whatever is left in the tank, he gives it to you every single fight. So I think that he's going to still give enough to make this fight against Otto Wallin close. I just think that Otto Wallin is going to do enough commanding boxing to win this one against Chisora. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.